everybody. We're finally back. I took a 1-year hiatus, got super busy. Not a very good excuse, but we're finally here. This is the beginning of the 2022-2023 NFL football season. Can't be more excited. Let's get into what we're going to be talking about today, which is going to be NFL division predictions, stuff like that, as well as I'm going to explain the origin of my rebrand. I'm no longer eye test takes. I am coordinated chaos. It's just something that I picked up when I was listening to a podcast where Kyle Shanahan joined Chris Sims on his Unbuttoned podcast through NBC. Essentially what he said in a quote, which I just thought was really, really cool, was, what's different about football than every other sport, there's 22 people on the field that are in chaos, but they're coordinated. And I just thought that was cool because I think it really embodies what football is in general, and especially the NFL. I think Kyle Shanahan is, a great offensive mind, a great head coach in the league, and I really like the way he operates, his organization. So I thought that, quote was awesome, so I just ran with it, threw the coordinated in front of the chaos and thought it was kind of catchy, so I ran with it, and now that's my thing. But yeah, so let's get right into the nitty-gritty. We're going to do division winners. We're going to start with the AFC, then go to the NFC. But first off, we're going to start with the AFC West, which is the juggernaut division of the NFL at this point in time. Obviously, you have the Chiefs, who have been unbelievable for the last couple of years, leading the way, with Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, just doing a phenomenal job the last couple of years. I mean, really, the last 4 years. Then you got the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders, all very competent teams, especially with Russell Wilson coming over to the Broncos this year. So I'm going to go through what I think their record's going to be. I'm going to do this for every division. And then I might give you just a Super Bowl, or maybe AFC, NFC championship matchup, Super Bowl prediction at the end. Nothing crazy. I'm not going to do full-blown seeding and whatnot, but I'm going to do these division predictions. So I got in the AFC West, Kansas City 14-3. Then I had the Chargers at 13-4. Then I had the Broncos at 10-7 and the Raiders at 10-7. So essentially the Broncos are just going to win the tiebreaker there with a 2-4 record rather than a 1-5 record from the Raiders. So let me just go through these teams. I'm going to give a brief synopsis, per team, but Raiders obviously get Devontae Adams. That's going to make them better. I don't think their defense was all that great last year, but I think it can improve this season. The Broncos obviously are going to get Russell Wilson, which is a huge deal. The problem is that division is so crazy and so tough that I don't think they can be one of the top two guys. And I still think there's a chance they can potentially get a wild card. It just depends on how things, shuffle in the AFC this year. I got the Chargers second in the division at 13-4. I think they're going to be unbelievable this year. They really ramped up their defensive positions. I mean, they got Khalil Mack. They added J.C. Jackson. They already have Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, Nazir Adderley. I mean, Joey Bosa. The defensive side of the ball should be solid as long as some of those interior D linemen can, stay healthy and whatnot. They have Jerry Tillery. I mean, they got studs really everywhere. And then obviously the offense is just Justin Herbert. Can he put the team on his back? I think he can. I think he's got all the tools. He's got weapons. He's got Mike Williams. He's got Keenan Allen. I mean, he's got Austin Eckler. He's even got Gerald Everett now. But I still don't think they uncrown the guys that have been ruling the league basically for the last couple of years, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think they're going to win the division, and I think they're going to end up with a 1 seed in all of the AFC again. Like I said, at a 14-3 record. All right, so let's move on to the AFC East. We have the Buffalo Bills in the top spot, obviously 14-3 for them as well, just like the Chiefs. So they're going to end up with the 2 seed in the AFC. Then we have the Dolphins at 11-6, the Pats at 7-10, and the Jets at 2-15. I was really hoping the Jets would be a little bit more competitive this year, but you look at the schedule. The beginning of their schedule is absolutely brutal. I don't know why the schedule makers, the NFL, whoever may be doing it, would do this to the Jets, but man, they made the whole schedule so tough. And then, of course, you tack on the fact that Zach Wilson's hurt, and I think he was going to take a step up. But now we're going to have to wait and see how that pans out. Pats, I think they probably take a step back here. They made the playoffs last year. Problem is, I don't know about this whole Matt Patricia, Joe Judge brain trust they have operating the offensive side of the ball. I just can't put much faith in it, considering how they did other jobs as head coaches. I don't know. Matt Patricia's never been an offensive head coach or a coordinator, I guess you could say. So I don't know how they're going to do that together and make it as good as it was last year with Josh McDaniels, who is arguably one of the better offensive minds in all of football. So that's tough. The Dolphins, they're going to come in, like I said, 11-6, second in that division. I'm not a huge Tua guy. I'm not too sure how good he is. We're going to see this year because it's one of those situations kind of like the Eagles where there's no more excuses. He's got the weapons. He's got the defense. It's just on him at this point to make some magic happen. Obviously, the addition of Tyreek Hill's huge. Jalen Waddle was already a stud. Chase Edmonds coming in from Arizona was awesome. The defense, you got Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Christian Wilkins on the defensive line. They have people loaded everywhere on the defensive side and the offensive side. So it's really just like, can they just, kind of maybe sneak into a wild card, because the Bills are going to win that division. There's no doubt about it. Let's go on to the AFC North. I have the Bengals winning this division at 12-5. Then the Baltimore Ravens coming in at 12-5 as well. The Bengals are going to win the tiebreaker there, 5-1 in the division rather than 4-2 in the division from the Ravens. Then I have the Steelers coming in at 6-11, and then the Browns at 3-14. The Browns, man, they have dealt with a lot of turmoil this offseason, the whole Deshaun Watson thing. Jacoby Brissett, I think, is a competent starter in this league. The problem is, it's a tough division, and their schedule until Deshaun Watson comes back from suspension this year is super brutal. So I don't think they're going to get off to a hot start, and then I don't think they're going to, get on a roll after he comes back either. So it's going to be a little bit of a rough season for the Browns, I believe. Then we got, like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was really hoping that Kenny Pickett would end up being named the starter first off, but Trubisky's got the job for the time being. I think Pickett will end up being the starter at least halfway through the season or something like that. But like fantasy-wise, man, I was really hoping they were going to name Pickett, because I would have had a lot more confidence in like a Deontay Johnson, Claypool, just their weapons in general. But and I think they're just going to be a better team with Pickett in there. Just give him, the reins and let him try to figure it out so he'll be ready for next year. But yeah, I just don't think they're going to put it all together this season, especially with how bad that O-line has looked in the preseason. But then we have the Ravens. I think they're going to be amazing once again because of Lamar Jackson, basically. Just as long as he can stay healthy. J.K. Dobbins coming back. Hopefully he's going to be healthy, coming off that ACL as well. And then their defense, almost year in and year out, they're solid. You can't really go wrong with them. So I think they're going to be pretty good. And then the Bengals, man, it's Joe Burrow, it's Jamar Chase, it's T. Higgins, it's Joe Mixon. They even added, it's a name off the wall, but Hayden Hurst is their tight end now, replacing C.J. Uzomah, who was, a bit of a loss for them in the offseason. Their defense showed up and showed out in the playoffs last year. Hopefully they can continue to play really well. I just think they're going to win that division, and they're going to end up with the 3 seed in the AFC. Last but not least in the AFC is the South. We have the Colts winning this division at 11-6. We have the Titans tying them at 11-6, but it looks like the Colts are going to get the tiebreaker there. Jaguars 7-10, and then the Texans at 1-16. Texans are going to have a tough time again. Davis Mills is he's less than average as a starter. I like some of the pieces they have. Brandon Cooks is a good running back, good wide receiver. Damian Pierce coming in as a rookie looks to be like a very good running back. We'll see how that goes. I've drafted him in every fantasy league I could just because I think he's going to get a ton of work. But I just don't. Their defense is very iffy. I think they're going to be kind of competitive, but I think they're really going to be looking at a QB situation in the draft next season. Jaguars, they're going to be much improved under Doug Peterson. You can't get much worse than the situation they had with Urban Meyer last year. It was an absolute disaster. Trevor Lawrence has to be better this year, and I think he will under the tutelage of Doug Peterson. I mean, Doug Peterson made Carson Wentz look like an MVP in 2017, and then he made Nick Foles look like a magician in the playoffs that year. So I put a lot of that faith into Doug Peterson that he's going to turn Trevor Lawrence around, and because Trevor Lawrence couldn't have played much worse than he did last year, especially with all the expectations. So then we got the Titans. Titans lose A.J. Brown, which is huge, I think. They don't have as many offensive weapons as they used to, but I don't think it's going to matter too much considering they're running that entire offense through Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill can still throw the ball. People are down on him. People are excited about Malik Willis, but I think Ryan Tannehill is still a very good starter in the league, and I think people should kind of calm down on the Tannehill hate at this point. But I got the Colts winning this division. Matt Ryan replaces Carson Wentz. It's such a stabilizing thing for that organization to have a accurate QB, a good leader at QB. There's been too much going around Wentz, and just the Colts had just gotten rid of him because they just didn't like him as the figurehead for that franchise anymore. You can't get much better as a figurehead than Matt Ryan at this point in time. He's not what he once was, but at one point he was an MVP, and he's still smart with the football. So we'll see. Jonathan Taylor can still dominate. We'll see if they can dominate this year as much as they did last year in the run game. Colts defense is super solid, so I have the Colts as the 4th seed coming out of the AFC. All right, let's move on to the NFC. We're going to start with the NFC South over here. Tampa Bay. Tom Brady returns after sort of retiring. I don't know if he's in the right headspace. I would assume he is at this point because I feel like whenever he puts those pads on, he is one main focus, which is go win championships. So I think Tampa Bay is going to be fine. I don't think they're going to win as many games as they have the last few years, but I think they're going to go 11-6 and win this division. Then I have the Saints coming in at second at 7-10, Panthers at 6-11, and then the Falcons at 2-15. Falcons, I like some pieces. I like Kyle Pitts. I'm not even that mad about Marcus Mariota. I think he can make some plays and he can run the ball. So they're gonna be a pain in the rear. I think they're gonna be very competitive this season. I just don't think they're gonna win many games. Let's go with the Panthers, 6-11. Baker Mayfield is going to be better than Sam Darnold was last year. I like the defense. They are fast. They're pretty big and they're smart. I just don't know if I can trust Matt Rule at this point. He's the biggest question to me. Baker has weapons. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, see if he can come out of that slump a little bit. Christian McCaffrey has to stay healthy for them to be very competitive this year. But I think overall they're going to be better, more competitive, more of a pain in the rear for every other team in the league that they play this year. I just don't know if they're going to put it all together, and I don't really trust Matt Rule, like I said. So we got the Saints. Jameis coming off an ACL. The roster's loaded. Michael Thomas hopefully can come back and be the Michael Thomas that we remember from 2-3 years ago, whatever it's been now. It's been light years and football years, I feel like. Then they have Chris Olave coming in, Jarvis Landry. The defense is still very, very good. It's just a matter of if they can put it all together. Dennis Allen, the new head coach there. Sean Payton's gone. We'll just see. I'm not too sure. I think, like I said, they're just going to get second in that division, and they're probably not going to make a wild card. In my biased opinion, I really hope that the Saints don't win too many games this year because the Eagles do own their first-round draft pick. So that would be really nice. Tampa Bay, like I said, 11-6. Tom Brady still has weapons. We're going to see what we can get out of Julio Jones, or the ghost of Julio Jones. Russell Gage comes over from the Falcons. Let's see. The defense is still very, very good. Pass rush is good. Vita Vea. Akeem Hicks comes over to help out Vita Vea on the front seven. You still got crazy good linebackers. You got good safeties. You got very competent corners. They're a good team, man, and I think they're going to make some noise in the playoffs if they get in, which I think they will because they're going to get the 4th seed in the NFC. And then we have the NFC East. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm not a huge Jalen Hurts guy, but that roster is looking stacked. They've added a ton of good pieces to the defensive side of the ball, drafting Jordan Davis, drafting Nakobe Dean, bringing over Hassan Reddick. We got James Bradbury in free agency to pair up with Darius Slay. We just traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the Saints. Defense is ready to go. Offense, like I said, A.J. Brown now paired with Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. That running back rotation is pretty solid. See if Miles Sanders can stay healthy. But it's just all on Jalen Hurts. And I want Hurts to be the franchise guy because he's already in place and he's talented. He's got all the intangibles. He's a great leader, blah, blah, blah. The problem is I don't know if he has the talent, the arm talent, the processing, the timing. I don't see it yet, and I need to see it to believe it. And so this year is his audition, his 1 year audition, because next year we have draft picks that we can use to get a QB in the draft if needed, or go trade for a veteran, because I think this team is win now and it's win ready. So Super Bowl contenders with an unbelievable QB. With Jalen Hurts, I think we're a playoff contender, and I think we're going to end up being the 3 seed in the NFC East. Cowboys are going to come in second there, 10-7. Washington 6-11, and the Giants at 3-14. Giants, man, I think Daniel Jones, his time is up. I just think Brian Daboll has already written, everything on the wall. All of it's kind of coming into fruition here. I think Brian Daboll is out on Daniel Jones. There's been too much smoke with the whole Tyrod Taylor thing. So, I don't know. Their defense may get a little bit better with Kayvon Thibodeau. But they're kind of a train wreck. So we'll see how that goes, but I don't trust that whole situation right now. Same goes for the Washington Commanders. I hate that name. It is ridiculous. But they have Carson Wentz. He's been crazy up and down his entire career, essentially. So I don't know how that's going to work out for them. They have weapons: McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. The defense was good 2 years ago. They were atrocious last year. We can see if they can bounce back. I just don't see it happening. Cowboys have them at 10-7. They can potentially get a wild card. The problem is they just didn't get better this offseason. And I would have easily given them, the division if they would have just made any kind of free agent move. But they didn't. They didn't draft that well. The free agency, they were very just nonchalant about everything. Then Tyron Smith goes down. They're signing Jason Peters, the ghost of him, essentially, because he was playing not very good with the Eagles, and then he was with Chicago last year and was atrocious. I don't see how it's going to work out, but it is what it is. Eagles are going to win that division. They're going to be third in the NFC. Then we're going to go to Green Bay, the AFC North, NFC North. Holy crap. Green Bay is going to win that division at 13-4. I don't have the Vikings upsetting them this year like some people do. Vikings at 11-6, Chicago at 5-12, the Lions at 4-13. The Lions, I like Dan Campbell. I watched Hard Knocks. I enjoyed every second of it. It was awesome. I just don't know how much of that translates to reality and translates to as soon as the football snapped on this Sunday when the Eagles are right in their face, but we'll see. Chicago, the O-line is a disaster. Justin Fields, I think, is going to have a hard time proving he's the guy because all of his weapons are bad, essentially. He's just got Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. David Montgomery's okay, but the rest of it around is just not very good, so it's going to be tough. The defense he was okay last year, nothing special. They have Matt Eberflus coming in. He's defensive, minded head coach. So we'll see if he can turn that around a little bit. Jaquan Brisker looks really good coming out of Penn State. The Vikings defense was atrocious last year. We'll see if they can bounce back a little bit, but I don't think they added enough pieces and people to that to make it work. They hired a offensive head coach in Kevin O'Connell. I think he's going to help out the offense, obviously, which the offense didn't need a whole lot of help in general because of Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. But if he can bring that offense to where it covers up some of the stink of that defense, that's going to be huge for them. All right, let's go on to the Packers. Packers, I think, are still going to get it done. Aaron Rodgers is still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Back-to-back MVP now. Yes, he lost Davante Adams, his boy. But when you look at what the Packers have done without Davante Adams due to injury and things of that nature, they have always played well still. He spread the wealth. And the defense is very good. People forget about that. So we'll see what happens. They got good running backs. It's just a matter of if those young wide receivers and some of the vets can come together to make something happen for Aaron Rodgers and just gain his trust. I still have them winning the division as the 2 seed. And then we're going to come down to the NFC West, which used to be a gauntlet. Still is kind of tough. But I got San Fran actually winning this division at 13-4. I also have the Rams coming in second at 13-4. 49ers are going to get the tiebreaker. They've had the Rams number the last couple years, so I think they win both of those games divisionally. I have the Cardinals at 8-9, and then I have the Seahawks at 3-14. Seahawks, it's a tough scene. Russell Wilson leaves. They have Geno Smith, who is very competent, can make all the throws. He just makes dumb decisions sometimes. Defense is not good. Pete Carroll thinks it is. He still thinks he is the Legion of Boom, and he wants to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch. You don't have either one of those anymore. So we're going to see what Pete Carroll can put together this year. I think he's going to miss Russell Wilson a lot. And then let's go on to the Cardinals. The Cardinals, man, they have been starting off pretty good, like at the beginning of each year, the past couple years, and fading near the end. The problem is, I think this year it might flip-flop, especially considering DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out for the first 6 games. I think they should get better as the season goes on. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think they're going to be 8-9. I think they're going to be right middle of the road. I think their defense is pretty decent. Their offense has weapons and whatnot when, all together. I just don't think they can put it all together. Rams, I think they're going to have a bit of a Super Bowl hangover. Matt Stafford's still good. Cooper Kupp's still good. Allen Robinson is a nice addition they have. Running back situation's a little iffy. Defense lost some pieces like Von Miller, but they did add like a Bobby Wagner, so that's huge. But I just don't know if it's just tough for Super Bowl winners to come back and be as competitive as they were. I still have them at 13-4. I still think they're going to be a very good team, but I don't know if they're going to have enough juice to make it back to the Super Bowl again. But I do have them as like a 5 seed, so I think they'll probably end up being in the playoff contention. And then we have the 49ers. 49ers are really a very complete squad. It's kind of like the Jalen Hurts Tua situation. Can Trey Lance just be good? If he's good, as good as Jimmy Garoppolo was, which is very middle of the road in my opinion, I think they can go to the NFC Championship game, maybe even the Super Bowl. So that's where I have the teams this year divisionally. I think if you ask me AFC-wise, collision course coming between the Bills and the Chiefs once again. I have the Chiefs winning. I think the Chiefs are at a point now where people are disrespecting them to the point where, they lost Tyreek Hill. People are upset about that, and they're saying they can't get back. And it's basically Tyreek Hill made Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to want to prove to the rest of the league and all of media, everybody, all fans, they're for real. They're ready to go again. I think the Chiefs are going to end up getting to the Super Bowl again this year, beating the Bills once again. But I could really see it going either way. But as of right now, Chiefs, Super Bowl in it. NFC-wise, I think it's going to come down to probably somewhere around the lines of maybe the Packers and 49ers again, rematch in the NFC Championship game. 49ers probably going to pull it out and be in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Going to have a little bit of a Super Bowl rematch from a couple years ago. That would be really fun, especially with Trey Lance being the guy now. Just the storylines there would be crazy. But yeah, that's the way I see the NFL heading this year. Crazy things can happen. Injuries happen. So this can all get blown out the door by week 3, really. So we'll see. I'm really excited for the season. I hope everybody's as excited as I am. And I'm ready for fantasy, man. I can't wait for that stuff. But yeah, so pretty much that's it. That's all I got for the first episode of Coordinated Chaos. Shout out to my guy, Weston Barnhart, who is editing this video. He's going to make a sweet intro. I can't wait, man. He's so talented. Let's get after it. Hitting you up with episode 2 next week after the games. We'll see you later.